Nordic Call of Duty Championship for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare from here, the Monster Energy Gaming Studios, live in Stockholm, Sweden. Ladies and gentlemen, the grand final is just around the corner. But before we get on to that, I'm going to talk once more about the DLC. Guys, if you want to get your hands on the DLC for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare 1, 2, and 3, the recently released Supremacy, it's hashtag DHCOD. Tell us why you want this DLC, and you have to be following at Dreamhack to win. Also, there will be some codes live fed into this broadcast, so make sure you're watching the entire time to get your hands on, otherwise you could miss out. But let's talk about the game. Casters, it's time for the grand final. Are you ready?
Oh, very, very excited, extremely ready for this. I mean, we discussed before the fact that we were expecting these two teams to meet in the grand finals. Yeah. Really strong Nordic teams here going head-to-head. And I've got to say, probably going to be the closest game we've seen so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd say justifiably, these are the best two teams here. You've got, obviously, the champions from Sweden coming back, making it to the grand final, but coming up against Finland's finest. Team Menace, you've got the likes of GefKid leading themselves. Yeah. It's got to be exciting, to say the least. I just want to get into it. And this hard point, I honestly think will be the best because there's so much slaying power on either side.
Are these the two teams we expected to be in this final?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, this is it.
Very concise. Yes. Yeah, these are the two teams. There we go.
And, you know, it's not to take anything away from the two teams that have fell in the semi-finals. Yeah. It's just the fact that the caliber of the players within both of these lineups is so, so strong. You know, we've got the Swedish champions here. Once again, they've proven themselves in this studio. They've proven it once again, find their way to the grand final. But Team Menace, I mean, I mentioned this during one of the casts, placing top 4 in a European championship to find himself in the World Championship, a force to be reckoned with.
Most certainly so. We have a few replays from both of these squads that we'll be taking a look at here on the run-up to this grand final. Like I said, it's what we said. Here we go. First of all, it's Quicker Than You, and this is, I think, the start of his big streak. Like I said, this player is very, very good, and it's something that a lot of people have been expecting. And for me, the most important thing about Quicker being in this tournament is it actually gives him quite a big chance to shine. Like, so if you go back to the UK where he natively plays, it's not always talked about that much. I mean, he's had kind of a storied history of coming into CompCon and being on one of those teams that a lot of people thought was a joke to begin with.
I've got to say, I mean, I completely agree with you, Bryce, by the way, but they're Quicker, just kind of touching on his 10 kill streak goes on. We saw him straight away, he was on his 2 kill streak, picks up a couple, but even everything that gets thrown at him, like we can see here, you know, he's been stunned, he's been AMP'd, but he just doesn't stop, and he can just gathers everyone around him, gains map control, uses the extra ability to his best, and just kind of takes advantage of it.
It really did, and it actually showed how this kind of map went down as well. If you think of what actually happened there, he scored the uplink point and then continued to stay in that dominant area for so long. I mean, that's confidence as well there, to just pick up a few bullets on that kill and just leave it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. Just knowing that his teammates will pick it up, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and with Quicker, as you said before, almost in that joke team in a way, the Lightning Pandas, which, you know, I don't want to take too much away from them, still a very strong team, and coming from a YouTube background, I don't think many people took Quicker seriously.
They were TYT when they first come in. Nobody expected
Team YouTube previously to that, of course, yeah, and no one really took them as seriously as...
Oh, that's it. I mean, Momo subbed out there. Momo, ex-player himself, didn't take them seriously. Nobody did.
At the time they joined the community, it was more like they're doing it just for a bit like YouTube exposure. But the thing I like about Shay, Quicker, he did that, but he just got hooked on it. He loved it and thrived off it, and he's kind of drifted from that YouTube to this, and now finds himself in a European top team, which just shows anyone at home can do it. You know, if they dedicate themselves to it, put the time in, they could be here themselves.
It's one of those other questions as well. We talk about, I'll actually move on to that later on. We have the next replay coming up. We're going to talk about the other team, Team Menace. He also had a very good tournament so far. It's GefKid, probably the most famous player on this squad, I would say.
Yeah, and this is, of course, from the Finnish side. GefKid there cleans up the first kill, and as you highlighted, Bryce, he somehow manages to escape fire here, sustains so much damage, but still manages to stay alive. And as a result of this, we see him just swing around the back, gets into this 1 versus 2, does come to a head-to-head 1 versus 1 against Seb, and you know, undoubtedly does come out on top here. And the final kill, we actually switch things over to Nixon to see if he can close things out on his 10-3 kill death ratio. But GefKid, such an accomplished search and destroy player online, really taking that.
He had this dialed in.
Yeah.
I think with that jump, he saw where he was, but it was not just that he saw him,
awareness.
He predicted him. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, Bryce, awareness just of the map and where he would go. Just read the play so well and just cleaned it up.
Okay, well, that's the replay. Oh, we actually got another one here. It's going to be ID, and that's the perfect pass here.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. I mean, they said they've practiced a lot, so we will be looking out for that in the uplink. But you know what? I think it's time to look over these two teams, team by team again. Let's start off talking about Team Menace and their road to this grand final.
All right, well, Team Menace here, I mean, left to right, we can see Junaz there. Junaz, such a huge slayer for the Finnish squad, really performs well. Every time I've seen him actually compete at this high-tier level, it's always Junaz that's picking up those massive kills, finishes on a very high number, so watch out for him as the main slayer for those guys, and definitely one to watch of the overall lineup for me, just to his right there. And that is, of course, going to be his teammate Idy, who's really performed well. I mean,
consistency.
This is it. We saw him doing some heavy objective work with that uplink drone as soon as it was thrown to him. And we say pass, it was actually a throw, but it was kind of a throw pass. Picked it up, sweep right in, and I'd say the most consistent player of this lineup. You can always expect him to perform. Further to the right, though, as we appropriately named him before, the man, the myth, the legend, it is Gefkid. A lot of support from back home, a high, well-recognised figure within the European scene. And, you know,
doesn't even need his headset.
He doesn't even need his headset. He's just going to play with his swag cap. But, yeah, he's definitely search and destroy skills comes into play.
His name, if I'm honest. Gefkid.
Gefkid. And Menace there, the final player completing the lineup. Extremely relaxed going into the game, but as soon as they do drop a map, we seem to take things a little bit more seriously.
Relaxed on the surface. I'm not sure if underneath. I mean, this is going to be a hard game. They know it's going to be a hard game.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, Menace was one for me which really kind of stood out in the last stages of that series. However, going on board with the guys from Barrage, I mean, left to right there, you can see Solid, Kappa, Burns, and Quicker, of course. On your screen, Solid. Solid is, for me, one of those players very much like, you know, a consistent player. Like we saw, obviously, from Team Menace as well. He's just one of those who performs day in, day out. Is the SMG kind of slayer, but you will see him, you know, he can use either gun. He's a very versatile player as well. So Solid is definitely one to watch, especially in the respawns. Moving on, we also have Kappa. I renamed him Cap. He's just one of those players, so vocal. You know, do you know Dougie from Team Denmark? You know, so hyped. He's exactly the same. Obviously, a search and destroy specialist. We saw him dropping double figures.
I think the most surprising thing for me is that he has an English accent. It
sounds like he's from Manchester.
It does sound like he's from Manchester.
But yeah, and then moving on to Burns. Burns is a player. I mean, it was obviously previously Orbit, who didn't make it, obviously, to the Nordic champion. He was representing Orbit, got dropped from them, beat them to get here, and now finds himself in the grand final of the Nordic championship. Come a long, long way, and, you know, thoroughly deserves it. And then, finally, the man from Scotland, we have Quicker. Again, you know, he's come into this team late as a pickup, done what he's been told, which is basically do whatever you want. Slay out every single person in Sweden, in the Nordic region, and that is Quicker. I mean, Quicker, he can do everything. He can pull out a ball, he can use an SMG.
I think we focused a lot on him just because of the way he's been playing as well. I mean, when you stick numbers down like he does consistently, it's one of the reasons, you know, everyone likes to watch the numbers, let's be honest here. Although the stats don't always tell the story they do tell is always pretty impressive, right?
And they find themselves in another grand final.
Okay, straight off the bat, I want one-word answers. Which team is the best?
Barrage.
Barrage.
Oh, but both going Barrage here.
I'm going Barrage, but it was a very...
No, I only want one word.
Okay.
I'm Russ for the key players here this time, though. Let's talk about the keys to victory. Which players do you think are going to win?
Well, I mean, for me, looking at Barrage, you know, not to put him too much in the limelight, Quicker certainly stands out in terms of the hardpoint, get slain-based game modes. But I think this is really where we see the likes of Burns step up now, going into a grand final. He's tasted victory. He does have limited LAN experience, if you like, in relation to the likes of Quicker. And, you know, I do recall him playing extremely well in the Swedish Championship. So certainly for Barrage, he's going to be one to watch. Over on Team Menace, it's got to be Gefkid for me. Certainly the captain of the squad. And he's going to be bringing that leadership into the game, so I'll keep an eye on him, I think.
Do you agree with him, Momo? Or is, in fact, like last time, you completely ignore what he says?
I mean, I like to disagree with Rel, purely because I like to know that he's always wrong, but you can't ignore the fact that Quicker is so dominant in that team. But I'm going to go with a little bit different. I'm going to say you've got to watch Burns from Team Barrage, and you're going to watch Menace from... can't even think of the name.
Team Menace.
Team Menace. I was thinking Team Finland, Team There's too many teams in this. But I've got to say, Menace really kind of, again, consistently see like Idy, but Menace and Burns.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Okay, now, the question I want to ask next is, Gefkid said, with weaker on hardpoint, we're strong on S&D.
He lied.
Yep, it was the wrong way around. Did you suspect it would be the same way this time? Or Will that S&D speciality finally come into play?
I think he's going to step it up in his Search and Destroy. I think they'll have learned a lot from the previous one. But we saw Barrage. It sounded like, it seemed like they'd gone away, practice their Search and Destroy. So that's definitely going to be one to watch. But I think in answer to your question, I think they're going to be a bit better in Search and Destroy in this grand final.
Well, fair enough. That's enough speculation. Let's talk to Team Barrage and Team Menace and get those players up here and find out who's going to win this grand final and face off against Team Envious at Dreamhack Summer. Welcome back, guys. It's time. Gefkid, Kappa, how are you feeling? Grand final. It's all to play for.
It's pretty nice feeling to be in the grand finals now, and like the S&D was pretty weak for us, but still it was a good game for us and getting here now.
How are you feeling?
A bit nervous, but that's how it is. Grand final, a lot on stake.
Okay, my first question. I'm going to have to speak to you, Gefkid. Why did you lie to us?
Yeah, I'm actually really sorry about that. I just wanted to make them feel like...
was that so? Okay, I'm going to ask this question. Yeah. Was that you? Was it just they shocked you on S&D, or was that generally a mind game you were playing?
Nah, it was just... I think we just played it pretty bad. We just kept getting first blooded, and that just cost us rounds. So that's why we lost it.
Fair enough. I mean, other than that, are you feeling really confident today? Are you happy with the way you've played so far? Yeah,
I'm pretty happy. Like 2-0 and 3-1, so that's not bad at all. Like feeling confident. Okay, how are you feeling today? Are you playing the way you want to? Are you confident coming in?
I'd say like online and on the Swedish Championship, our best game was hardpoint. That's the one that's been weakest today so far. Our hardpoints have been close, like around the 50-point mark in both games, but I still feel like that we could like improve on that one. And if we got to beat Team Finland, we got to beat like more points. We got to be better on hardpoint.
Okay, so what does it mean to both of you to be the Nordic champions and have that opportunity to go play Team Envious in a week?
It would be pretty great for me, like just like the title of that. It would be like nice to have.
It'd be nice to be the Nordic champion, right? Yeah.
Obviously.
How about you?
I'd say that being the Nordic champion for me today will be much more, because that will mean he won't be Nordic champion for the second time. That would mean he won't be the second time Nordic champion since they qualified for the champs.
Okay. Fair enough. So you want that title. You don't want him to be the two-time Nordic champion.
Yeah.
Guys, you got anything to add to that?
I mean, I've got to say, off the back of that question, really, we can see Gefkid here wearing his Call of Duty World Championship top. You, of course, have this international experience playing at this high level. Do you think that provides you with some sort of advantage, given that you've played against arguably stronger teams in America?
Obviously, it's a bit of an advantage when these players probably haven't played at high-level teams, but yeah, there's still a strong team, and we'll just bring our A game.
Okay. I'd like to ask a question, obviously. We've seen...
Of course, go ahead.
I mean, Gefkid's obviously very good at Search and Destroy. Didn't have the best game, admittedly, there. If there was any Search and Destroy players, even in today's studio, or anyone around in Europe, is there any Search and Destroy players that you think are particularly the best? For both of you, really?
You can answer first.
Well, like, I'd say the top 5 EU S&D players are like Geff, Menace, Porky. There's a few from the UK that's very good, but I'd say SN is still one of the best. And then myself, of course.
And obviously yourself.
Oh, hey, that's confident, right?
Yeah,
you've got to be confident.
You've got to be. I mean, obviously, I think these two, for me, are the best two Search and Destroy players in their teams. But to see who's going to come out on top is definitely one that I'll be looking forward to in the S&D.
Okay. One last question. If you do win and you do become Nordic champions, can you defeat Team Envious?
It's going to be hard. We played them in COD Champs and we lost to them 3-0, so it's not going to be easy.
But a bit of revenge for you then.
Yeah.
It'll be a different roster as well,
Get the
but
revenge now. Yeah.
What do you think? Could you take them?
I'm not sure. They just finished last at X Games this weekend, but I'd say the American teams are on like completely other level from the EU teams.
Well, fair enough. So you're kind of a little bit nervous about that. So we'll see how you guys stack up. Whoever gets there in a week, thank you very much for joining us here. Please go take your seats for the grand final. There we go. All of this is pretty much done now. Big plays from both squads are going to be what's needed to take this to the Nordic. And you know what? We're actually going to do one last check for the DLC. Guys, Do you want to win the DLC? Do you want to win your own competition while you're at home? In fairness, there's more DLC codes now on the screen. Fastest finger first, please put these in as quickly as possible. DLC 3 and 2, 8 codes up for grabs if you are watching. A chance for you to get as many as you can. Right, well, there we go. I mean, this is the part of the show. If you are watching at home as well, hashtag DHCOD. Tell us why you want one of these codes. If you haven't managed to get one of the ones that's on screen, got to be following at Dreamhack for a chance to win it. But there you go. I mean, that's the DLC. I've been playing a little bit of it myself. It's
Rel's not got off it. Rel's just been sat playing zombies.
The first thing he said to me when he came in, he was just banging on about the DLC constantly.
Oh man, I love it so much. Of course, it's new maps, fresh new things, especially on this. Well, this is it, Skyrise. It's the remake of one of the popular MW2 maps, so it's great to play. And if you guys don't get the chance to get the codes, by all means, certainly purchase it and check it out.
Okay, before we start the game, you've been following these teams all day. You've just done an interview with them both. Final thoughts and predictions?
Well, I mean, I've got to say the interview, that was probably the most different out of them, because I think both of those players have a lot of respect for each other, and they know that either team is capable of taking this championship. None of them really boast in their confidence too much, although both will be going into the game assuming that they can take this and assuming that they can get the win. I'm expecting a close game. I can see it going down to the final map, which will be brilliant to see in the Nordic Championship. But I've got to stick with my initial prediction in that Barrage will take it. I'm going to say 3-2.
I'm actually going to change what I said.
Oh.
I'm going to say Team Menace is going to. And I mean, I'm just kind of playing it over in my head. Obviously, we're playing Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, and Uplink here. So I think the Hardpoint is going to be so close. You're going to see quicker against the likes of Menace, but I think it's actually going to go in favour of Menace.
Oh, really? Well, you can take the entire thing in favour of Menace?
Overall, yeah, it's going to be close. We're hopefully going to see a last map.
Are you going to say 3-2 as well?
I just like to be different than Rel.
Are you going to say 3-2 for Menace?
3-1 for Menace.
He wasn't going to agree with me, let's be honest.
No, he most certainly wasn't. Well, there we go then. That is everything. Predictions are done. Speculations are over with. Interviews are finished. We're going to hand it over to our team casters, the VP brothers. Let's take it away.